everyone. This is Katrina McHyde of On the Narrow Path on Tim McHyde's channel, as normal. So, an update. It's been a few days of lots of work like everyone else. This is a busy time. It starts to get busier during this time for many people, right? This is October and it's getting colder, so sweaters. Everybody's getting out their sweaters, but it's been a beautiful fall. Had a wonderful summer as far as temperatures, and so now we're here. As you can hear in the background, I have a cat up here. He escaped from where he should be. Cats do that regularly. Anyway, we're all doing well here. It's on a Friday, so Tim is working on the second part of the newsletter. He did a part 1 and now we're doing a part 2, and he's working on that, and we're trying to leave him alone so we can get it out to you guys here soon, and I'll give you this to go with it. And it kind of goes together. I was talking to my mom earlier this week, and we were talking about difficult people. And we all have them, and how difficult it is to get yourself to love your neighbor as yourself. You know, all those feelings that you have, and especially when it's a chronic thing that there's someone in your life or someone's in your life that make life more difficult. It's really hard to love them. It's really hard to pray for them and do good to them, to those who persecute you. And also know the balance as well of what are healthy boundaries. And I have so many vlog posts on those subjects. I'll let you go and look backward in all that stuff that I have back there. But I wanted to talk about it because my mom said, as far as with this person who she's having difficulties with, she said, well, it's only natural. Like, I said, what do you mean only natural? She says, well, it's just human nature not to like a person that's like that. And I went, well, we're not supposed to have human nature. We're supposed to have God nature. Yeah. So all of these natural instincts we have that, well, everyone else, it's only human. Everyone else would feel exactly the same way that I do about the situation. And she's not wrong. Almost everybody would feel the same way about the situation. The problem is we're not supposed to feel the same way as everyone else. We're supposed to go off of something else. This is something that's really, I want to underline this. I've dealt with this a little bit here and there, but I really want to underline this point, especially now. This is about the time when people start to get, a little more sad because for, half of the world, it's becoming winter, it's the fall time, it's getting colder, and this is for all over the world. Many times they have their holidays and holy days during this time, and then, for the rest of the year. And it can be a time that's very stressful, not only cold, but more difficult. It can be lonely, or people can get more cranky and say, well, it's only human, it's only natural. And the other thing is some people get extra excited and put on their excited face and act all nice during this time, but then lose it. And I've talked about that a little bit. And I really want to go into how this is unhealthy. This is unhealthy living, because we're supposed to not live like the dead man that's supposed to be killed. You're supposed to take off the old man and put on the new man. So I wanted to go in with that a little bit deeper, and let's evaluate ourselves on what we're doing. Leave evaluating anyone else alone, because you just don't have enough strength to evaluate anyone else. If they're not living up to what I'm about to share, that's between them and God. Your job is, no matter how you're treated, to act like Christ-like, right? Godly, act godly. So I'm going to go to Paul, because he's excellent with this, since he's the one that coined the phrase, talking about killing the old man and keeping it killed and taking on the new man. I'm going to go to Ephesians chapter 4 for those that would love to get out their scriptures and look at this a little deeper. I'm going to start in verse 17 and kind of go through a section here, little by little, for us to have an evaluation, for us to go through these next months and actually for the rest of your life. And this is so important. If you want to become godly, if you want to be prepared for when he returns, which could be you could die and he returns, or he can return while you're alive. And if you have not been building the characteristics, godly characteristics, and killing the human nature and putting on the God nature, it's not going to go well for you. So that's why this is so important. This is like number one priority in your life. All the things that we have in the next couple months are opportunities, actually a classroom, if you will, really, to be able to practice these things. The harder it is, the better the ability to practice these new concepts and have something to work against. And you won't always get it right. That old nature is going to want to try to rise up and do other things other than help you to be loving. And of course, I've shared on many posts about being able to breathe, to stay slow, count to 10, whatever, but don't have that first initial reaction, and go into a place where you feel Father is with you and that he will take care of things, and you don't have to fix it. He can, but he can guide you and tell you how to work with situations and how to see things the way he sees them, to have the heart for everyone else the way he has a heart for them and sees it, and a heart for yourself as well. Okay? And so do that for the love of God. Right? That I always go into that. Love God with your whole heart, might, and soul. Love his way. Want to do his way. Make it your own. Desire that like nothing else, because his way produces peace. It produces healing. It produces things that last for eternity. Love, patience, kindness, joy. And so right now, being that way in a world that does not act that way does not feel good. You will suffer. You will be persecuted for being that way. It's true. And that is what we're called to do, though. Just like our Messiah laid down his life. He laid down his life even for his enemies. It covers everyone. And we were enemies when we had the old man on, when we want to walk in our own ways. Okay, so we want to get rid of that, and we want to show the world how to do that by asking Father for help, not reacting to the things we used to react to. Go ahead and hold back and say, Father, usually these situations get me going. I don't want to work that way. Please help me to come up with habits and things to be able to do it differently. So we'll start here in verse 17 of Ephesians chapter 4, verse 17. Paul says, therefore, I say this and testify in the Lord, you should no longer walk as the Gentiles walk, in the futility of their thoughts. So the way the Gentiles walk, they walk after the things that they want, the things that they want to buy, the things that they want to have, the opportunities they want to have, to not be picked on. It's all about being comfortable physically and emotionally, having other people make you happy when it's not other people that makes you happy. But you're trying to have other people make you happy, and you love them only if they make you happy. So all of these ideas are the way the Gentiles walk. After these things, the Gentiles walk. We're supposed to walk over with eternal ideas, things that last forever. And we'll get into that. It'll go more into scripture on this, on that point here soon. So the Gentiles, they are darkened in their understanding, excluded from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them and because of the hardness of their hearts. When we act like, well, it's only human, or, it's only natural to act that way or to think that way, we're having hardness of heart. We're deciding, well, we're justified in being mean or angry or put out or depressed or upset with people. All of those things. We're making excuses and trying to give ourselves a slide. And I think that it's really dangerous to give yourself a slide. I think instead to say, you know what, I messed up this time. It's okay. And I know the blood of the Messiah covers it, and I'm sorry. And I'm going to continue to do better with my heart and keep exercising. And I'm going to learn how to breathe and trust God more and be nicer. Okay? So they became callous and gave themselves over to promiscuity. That means, over to just doing whatever they wanted to do, and in many different ways, not only sexually, but also to other gods. Do you have a god of money? Do you have a god of luxury? Do you have to have nice cars or the next big house? Do you have to have the more huge job or the huge promotion? All of these things are okay to want, but are they more important? And if you don't get them, do you have an attitude? It's becoming too much of a god if it's getting to a place where you have an attitude if you don't have those things. Okay. They gave themselves over to promiscuity and for the practice of every kind of impurity with a desire for more and more. Do you have a desire for more and more? Right? Usually Christmas time brings out the more. Well, ask Santa what you want for some of you that keep Christmas. But other ones, oh, well, it's the holidays. I'm hoping I get whatever. Or I expect this, or, this present wasn't very good. They don't like me very much. All these different things that is about things. You're getting offended by things. That kind of shows that there may be some problems, that you may have some entitlement issues. And also that it might be close to being a god, an idol, something that you worship, something that's more important to you than God's way. Because God isn't asking you to look at the temporary things. He's asking you to look at the eternal things, which what that means, many people say that, but what that means is all these things, they're going to burn. I get to wear nice clothes for now. I mean, it's the first time actually, that I've had some clothes that I've bought for myself. I usually have hand-me-downs, and I know these clothes are temporary. I know they are. The things that I have are temporary. And, I know that life isn't always going to be with a cat in my hand and be able to talk to you like this. Things always change, and I don't believe that we're always in comfort. I haven't had a life of a lot of comfort. And so I know that when you get it, you can get upset when it's taken away. Or if you've always had it and it's taken away, you can get upset. And we weren't promised everything being perfect here. It's not supposed to be perfect. We were promised suffering. And in that suffering, it should work patience and love and kindness and compassion, because we know what it's like to suffer, and we don't want to put suffering on anyone else. Going further into verse, you cat, you're being silly. Verse 20, but that is not how you learned about the Messiah, assuming you heard about him and were taught by him, because the truth is in Yeshua, in Jesus. You took off your former way of life. Let it go. Past. The old self that is corrupted by deceitful desires. Deceitful desires. What is a deceitful desire? Something that lures you, that looks like a bling bling that you just have to have, whether, like I said, the new job, the diamond ring, the new car, the better this, the the new and improved air conditioner, whatever. So it can be deceitful desires. It desires, the things that you desire strongly. How much do you desire something strongly compared to how much do you desire God and time with God and being able to set up a life with time with God? If there's other things that you desire more strongly, like playing that video game, like cooking that meal for all of the family members and cleaning up instead of giving time for God as well, or helping everyone do it with God, doing the holidays with God, and those that are less fortunate. See, we only think of the less fortunate during this time because we're checking off the boxes, right? Because we at least got that in. That should be an all the time thing. Look for the less fortunate and try to help them. Not a one, once a year for a couple months or just a day to put in that checklist. It's not the way it's supposed to go. So you took off your former way of life, the old self that is corrupted by deceitful desires. You are being renewed in the spirit of your minds. renewed in the mind. In other words, thinking of things that are more important, putting out the old desires and putting a new desire of Christ, of his way of being, of loving even when you're hated. You put on the new self, the one created according to God's likeness. What is God's likeness? 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Read those. That's God's likeness. That's what love is. In righteousness and purity of truth. Since you put away lying, how many people lie during this time? How many people find a way to try to lie? Oh, I love it, and you can love it because someone gave it to you. Hate the thing, but love the person. That's not lying. I'm talking about trying to please people and not be true to who you really are, so that you can get extra favor. For instance, like try to get that promotion by making it look like you like all your colleagues and yet you hate them, so that maybe you look like a team player so that you can get that promotion. There's some work. There's some heart work to do there. To have a promotion over people that you're not loving that's imprisonment for them and for you. It's just a faulty foundation. The only foundation that is strong is love, and God lifting you up, not trying to lift yourself up in a deceitful manner. Speak the truth, each one to his neighbor, because we are members of one another. If we're members of one another, whoever you don't speak the truth to, you're hurting yourself, since you're members of one another. Be angry and do not sin. Don't let the sun go down on your anger. So if you're angry with your spouse, you're angry with your child, you're angry with your grandparents, you're angry with your aunt, you're angry with your neighbor, you're angry with the cat, whatever it is, really work on stopping that anger that very day. There's a reason why it says do not let the sun go down on your anger. It's because it settles in, and that bitterness hurts you. It hurts your mind, it hurts your belief systems, it hurts your physical health, and it hurts your relationships, because when you close down in anger, you close down to everyone. You close down to God, you close down to yourself, and you close down to others. Anger is a place where we separate ourselves, and that's when the enemy can attack us the biggest and actually use us the most. So anger is one of those very, very big black holes that too many of us jump into. When you're angry, breathe and ask Father to help release it. Learn how to go in faith and give up whatever you're angry about. Whatever offenses you have, forgive them. Forgive them wholly and ask Father to help you to forgive at the deep levels that need to, not just in the mind, but in the heart, in the spirit. And don't give the devil an opportunity. That's what I just said. It gives the devil an opportunity when you stay angry, and it will not go well for you to hold on to anger. And by the way, it's really hard to overcome anger issues. It really is. It's something that you have to, it's like when you first start, it's like a whole lawn of weeds that keep growing back and back and back, and it's overwhelming. You have to learn techniques and stuff to keep pulling those weeds to where you get it out, and to be able to close the doors and have a new way of being that's walking in a newness of life, and looking at everything differently, so that you're angry at less things for less reasons, and you can continue to heal in that direction. So it's a path many times. So it's okay to take the time, but make it number one priority, because it's cutting you off from the love of God. You are cutting yourself off yourself from the love of God. You're doing the cutting off, not him, by your anger, because it gives a hardness of heart, and a hardened heart does not receive. It doesn't receive love. It doesn't receive ability of faith and trust, and for people to wrap your arms around you. It doesn't. It repels that. The thief must no longer steal. So if you're stealing in some way, consider that and ask Father how to repay that, or how he'll forgive you for that, and he can repay it for you if you can't. and get yourself clean. Instead, he must do honest work with his own hands so that he has something to share with anyone in need. When you do honest work, Father abundantly provides for you miraculous ways so that you have an overabundance to be able to share with others. It comes in many different forms. It might be time, it might be just some patience, it might be just a hug. But there's always something that there is to give that you can give in a godly way, not to try to get anything, or that you in any way are doing it to be able to make a way to get something in the future by pouring into somebody. You pour into them because God wants them to be poured into, and because you've been poured into and you know it. You know how blessed you are by Father. And if you don't feel blessed by Father, ask him to help you to understand how he has blessed you, how he has given to you, how he supported you. And then praise him and thank him every day for those things that he shows you. Make that a habit once an hour to do, to start building that muscle if you have a blindness in that area. Because there's always something, I don't care how bad your life is. Okay. No foul language is to come from your mouth. Usually foul language comes from anger. I've done it a few times. Yeah, we've all done it a few times. But only what is good for building up someone in need, so that it gives grace to those who hear. And don't grieve God's Holy Spirit. You were sealed by him for the day of redemption. So don't grieve God. He's always watching. He's everywhere. It's really important to remember that. He's everywhere all the time. He knows your heart. He knows what's going on. It's okay to accept that you have a long ways to go, but keep your heart open for him to help guide you. And when people get you angry, supposedly they get you angry, but you've chosen anger, is more the truth, then be willing to breathe and stop and be responsible for it. You are responsible for what you have chosen to get angry and bitter and not give forgiveness on. You are responsible for that, not anyone else. When you step in front of Father, when the day comes that each of us does, he's the yes buts. He did this or she did that, and I wasn't going to change until that was made right. That will not work. That will not get you anywhere. He's going to say, what did I tell you to do? Okay, all bitterness. Here we go. All bitterness, anger, and wrath. Shouting. How many people shout during this time? And slander must be removed from you, along with malice. All these things that I just mentioned just before reading this part. And be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving one another, just as God also forgave you in Christ. Do you forget how much you've been forgiven? Even now, every day, the forgiveness that he gives you. You have to be able to put forward what you have received in forgiveness. You have been, if you do not feel the forgiveness of God, then you need to go back to understanding how powerful the blood of the Messiah is. Go back into research on it right away. You do not have a second more of your time not to know how strongly, the blood of the Messiah is for you and everyone else. You do not fall outside of that box. If you choose to fall outside of that box and say you're a special case that it does not fall upon, then you're making yourself stronger than the blood of the Messiah. That's a dangerous thing to do. So these are things that I want to encourage you. So it's only human nature doesn't work. Well, it's only natural doesn't work. Well, anyone's going to feel this way. Yes, they will. And when you do, it's time to act godly and do the opposite of how you feel, and do it for the love of God, knowing that his way works better. And look, you've been doing it your own way your whole life. And you're at where you're at for now. But where you're at is temporary. And you can't keep it by yourself. You can't keep it by yourself. Only Father can guide your steps. The lamp unto your feet and a light unto your path, let God be that. And back to that lamp and that light, the way that he is a lamp and a light goes back to love all over again. Love God because he loved you first with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul. with all desire more than anything else, and let that grow in you. And if you don't feel it, ask Father to help you feel it, help you to get whatever experiences you need, whatever understandings, whatever ministry you need, and however to open up. Do it on a regular basis to be able to get that He loves you and you accept His love. Love God with your whole heart, might, and soul. And love your neighbor as yourself. Learn how to see yourself as God sees you, and put away all that stuff that it's not what God is seeing. So if you think you're too fat or too thin, or you're not pretty enough, or your hair is too long or too short, or you've got who knows what going on, ask Father how He sees you and accept the way He sees you as the way you choose to see yourself. Throw out the old woman, the old man of deciding for yourself how to see and your opinion, and put on Christ's opinion and God's opinion. Okay, that is killing the old self. Okay, what is important, the way He sees it. And be open for people to challenge you on the way you're seeing yourself. And also be open for those that are trying to tell you that there's something wrong, that you're not doing right. Do not get offended and shut down and go, well, you, or say, I feel so bad that you think so poorly of me. All those, throw it out. Those opportunities are an opportunity to breathe and say, Father, is there any accuracy in it? And help me to be able to change to be more loving, Father. And if it is inaccurate, to pray for the person who's saying it, because they are in so much hurt that they're blind to the truth. And you're not going to rattle them out of it. It's going to take the love, so use your mouth for blessing for those people. So I have given a whole lot of meat in here. I've said a lot of things, but Tim's article will go into some things that are, it's in the same vein. It always is, because that's where we're going. The end times, we're in the end times. We're in the end times. Whether it comes in your lifetime or not, you're in the end times. You're in the end game. Let's run the race with endurance. This is what it's about. With endurance means that every day we take the classroom, the things that make us mad and scared and angry and bitter and don't want to forgive, and the only human nature things and the lusts that we want, that extra donut or the extra cake, or the extra whatever that's calling to us, or the extra bling bling, whatever that is, new car, new job, new whatever. So just consider that these things are opportunities to have a different response, and you can force yourself to choose something different. And you have free will. You are responsible to wield your free will, and you are responsible to choose between the ways of the world and the lusts of the world, or the desires of God and a godly mindset. That's love Him with your whole heart and love your neighbor as yourself. I hope this helps to orient you on how to walk the walk, the narrow path. That's what I've put this whole thing together with, the narrow path, to do, is to help you to have the real things to be able to do and how to do them. If you have any further questions, please leave comments here. I'd love to hear them, and I'll do some more posts on the different comments. You can either leave comments here or at escapeallthesethings.com. You're welcome to email us and contact us. There's a lot of free stuff, like newsletter, the newsletter things are there. The updates of the YouTube channel are there. And we have a lot of free articles to help out there. And if you'd like these type of messages that encourage you on to good works, I do love you, and I just want the best for you, and I want the best for me, because whatever I say, I'm responsible for. I hear myself, and I'm in the middle of practice too. I tell you guys all the time of stories where I'm falling down on the job. I do fall down on the job, but it's not about falling down on the job. It's getting back up and putting on the blood of the Messiah and cleaning yourself off and walking forward and practicing. Is about practice. It's not about perfect. Okay? So I bless you. Go ahead and if you would like to subscribe to this channel, click the red button that says subscribe, and there's a little bell next to it. And if you push on that bell as well, it will make sure to give you an update of exactly when I put up new posts, or we put up new posts. So I bless you, Father. Please help us during this season to be able to see the path, the light on how to love better, to not act like the people around us, to not act like our old selves. Help us to be someone that we like to be around more, you like to be around more, and the world would like us to be, even when they're not going to be that way, Father. The Messiah, I know that he never stopped being exactly the perfection of love that you called him to be, no matter what anybody thought of him. And so I ask, Father, that you help us to strengthen, to understand how, and to walk in doing what you're telling us to do from a place of love, whether anyone likes it or not. And if you change and other people put you down, don't worry about it. Put them in God's hands, because people hate it when you change and you make God your God instead of them, because they lose control. They lose control over you. They no longer control you. Something bigger controls you. And they get scared when they cannot control you. So expect for them to have huge responses and try to get angry and put you down for trying to be different, saying, you're not that type of person. It's going to happen. So I bless you. I love you. And I will see you next time. Hopefully here soon. All right.